The Phoenix Lords, ancient demigods of the Eldar, the first aspect warriors, and the folks that never truly stay dead. Each one is a fusion of countless souls and centuries of battle experience, wrapped in some of the most badass armor I've seen in my cow life. I mean, seriously, look at that drip. But the real reason I made this video isn't to talk about their fancy armor, but to truly show how powerful these knife ears are. Because some in the community think they're only chapter master level, which, as you're about to see in this installment of Powerscaling Peeps, is completely and utterly wrong.
That sign can't stop me because I can't read.
In this video, we're continuing our Xenos Powerscaling run, and after covering the Silent King, the guy who wears a katan as a fashion statement, it only makes sense to check out the Eldar's own legends. You guys asked for it, so today we're powerscaling the Phoenix Lords. We're going to break down who they are, their powers, weapons, and abilities, their greatest feats, and finally, how they stack up against the rest of the 40K universe. Will the Phoenix Lords prove themselves as god-tier Aeldari warriors, or are they just really angry space elves with shiny armor? Place your bets, people, place your bets. Because, as always, my beloved herd, it's time to power scale. The Phoenix Lords are some of the most ancient and legendary heroes of the Eldar race. They are immortal, but not in the usual sense, but through a unique cycle. When a Phoenix Lord falls in battle, their essence remains in their armor, lying dormant until an Eldar whose soul resonates with it dons the suit. If the new wearer proves worthy, the Phoenix Lord is reborn, combining past souls into a single consciousness. Despite these reincarnations, the dominant personality of the first and greatest warrior to wear the armor always drives the Phoenix Lord's mind. Driven by instinct and destiny, Phoenix Lords appear wherever the path of Cain leads, often in times of great peril. Some of them are as old as the birth of Slaanesh, playing key roles in the shaping of the Aspect Shrines and the training of the first Aspect Warriors, the Asurae. While some vanish for centuries or millennia, they inevitably return when the galaxy calls for their intervention. No one knows exactly how many Phoenix Lords there are, but from the lore presented in the multiple Eldar codexes, specifically the 6th Eldar codex, we can gather that there are 10 known Phoenix Lords, each with their own unique legacy and role in Eldar history. So let's briefly cover all 10 of them. First is Ozerman, the Hand of Assyrian, who is said to be the first Eldar Phoenix Lord. And besides looking so goddamn cool, like oh my god, if I was a degenerate space elf, I would want to put on this suit of armor and fly around killing Tyranids. That's I know you guys would too. Shut up, don't lie to me.
Don't lie to me.
Ozerman has led the Eldar away from their doomed homeworlds during the birth of Slaanesh and the fall of their empire. He founded the path of the warrior and the first shrine, the Dire Avengers, laying the foundation for all subsequent Phoenix Lords. Ozerman has vanished and reappeared countless times, most recently confronting Chaos forces in the Webway and fighting alongside the Ynnari. Second is Baharoth, the Cry of the Wind, the winged Phoenix Lord, who founded the Swooping Hawks aspect and is a master of aerial combat. He was a favorite pupil of Ozerman and a brother to the other Phoenix Lord, and I will say my personal favorite, Papa, Maugan Ra. Known for speed and deadly elegance, Baharoth is destined to fall at the final battle against Chaos. If we ever get there somehow, some way, but I seriously doubt it. Third is Fugan, the Burning Lance, the founder of the Fire Dragons. Fugan specializes in anti-armor warfare and methodical destruction. Revered across countless craft worlds, he refuses to flee from danger and has hunted Chaos and other enemies of the Eldar relentlessly across the millennia, appearing only when his deadly skills serve a noble cause. After him is Arelith, the Shade of Twilight, the founder of the Shadow Spectre's aspect, a master of stealth and swift, lethal strikes. He once led a mighty host of Eldar to the world of Bethelme, after which he disappeared for centuries. His armor was recently discovered on Bet Alice 3, allowing him to finally return. 5th is Jane Czar, the Storm of Silence, who is the Phoenix Lord of the Howling Banshees. Trained by Osterman himself, she mastered lethal close combat and has founded multiple aspect shrines across the Aeldari galaxy. She has fought extensively against Chaos, the Dark Eldar, and is currently in the service of the Yunari. After her is Karandras, the Phoenix Lord of the Striking Scorpions. A master of stealth and assassination, Karandras tempers the violent legacy of his predecessor, using patience and cunning to hunt his prey and protect the Eldar. 7th is Maugan, the Harvester of Souls and the founder of the Dark Reapers. And my personal favorite amongst all of the Phoenix Lords. He is a master of long-range destruction and embodies pure unrelenting firepower. Ra is a brother to Bahamarath and survived the catastrophic expansion of the Eye of Terror that consumed his home world. Since then, he's waged war against the Tyranids, Chaos, and countless other threats across the galaxy, even fighting alongside the Yunari in their battles within the Webway. After Papa Ra is Drastanta, the Phoenix Lord of the Shining Spears. Known for his hubris and love of protracted battle, he disappeared after defeating the Keeper of Secrets, Nakari, in vengeance for the death of Osterman. He left behind his Celestial Lance, a weapon passed down through generations of Shining Spears, but no one has seen him since. 9th is Lycus, the Whispering Web and the founder of the Warp Spiders. A fearless daredevil and a master of ambush warfare, she's the living embodiment of unpredictability, striking from nowhere and vanishing before her enemies can react. Though rarely seen in the current setting, Lycus remains legendary for her unparalleled mastery of warp jumps and her ability to navigate the webway with surgical precision. And last, but definitely not least, the final and 10th Phoenix Lord, Ara, the original master of the Striking Scorpions. Once a noble warrior, he fell to darkness after the birth of Slaanesh, becoming a murderous and treacherous figure now known as the Father of the Incubi. According to the Blood of the Phoenix rulebook, it's heavily implied and in my opinion confirmed that Ara, the Fallen Phoenix, is actually Drazar, who now resides within the dark city of Kamen Ra, having taken a new vessel following his original death. So those are the 10 confirmed Phoenix Lords we know of, each one a living legend with their own unique fighting style, personality, and legacy. But knowing who they are is only the beginning. Now it's time to dig a little bit deeper, fellas, into their powers, weapons, and abilities to see just how powerful these majestic knife ears are. Let's start by breaking down the shared powers and traits of the Phoenix Lords. Every single one of them is a superhuman Eldar warrior, faster, stronger, and more skilled than nearly any mortal being in the 40K setting. Their reflexes are so sharp they can dodge bolter fire mid-volley. Their strength lets them punch through power armor, even Terminator plate, with effortless grace, and their centuries and maybe even millennia of experience make them living embodiments of war itself. Each Phoenix Lord wears a suit of Phoenix armor, an ancient, spirit-bound artifact that houses the souls of every previous warrior who has worn it. This gives them functional immortality. When one Phoenix Lord falls, their spirit passes into the armor, and a new host eventually rises to carry their legacy.
Were you killed? Sadly, yes. But I lived.
They also possess supernatural mastery of their chosen aspect of warfare, each embodying one side of Cain, the bloody-handed god of murder, whether that's vengeance, wrath, or silent death. They also share something even more insane, a defiance of fate itself. The Eldar are a species obsessed with prophecy and destiny. Yet, it seems the Phoenix Lords stand completely outside of the cosmic script. In the book Jane Czar, The Storm of Silence, there's a moment when Eldrith Uthwan, ever the schemer, tries to manipulate Jane Czar into one of his plans. But as she contemplates her decision, all possible futures freeze for him, every branching timeline simply stops. For a moment, she exists beyond fate, and when she finally makes her decision, fate bends to her will. It's as if the Phoenix Lords are so deeply tied to the mystic essence of Cain that even destiny can't control them. There's also the fact that the Phoenix Lords may not be entirely physical beings anymore. As I stated earlier, they are a combination of countless Eldar souls bound to their Phoenix armor, making them more akin to pure warp entities draped in flesh. The mortal who dons the armor isn't the original Phoenix Lord, they're merely a vessel animated by the collective will of the spirits within. Because of this, Phoenix Lords likely possess a natural resistance to warp-based attacks or psychic manipulation. Even demons seem unable to fully perceive, grasp, or corrupt their souls. So, while Phoenix Lords share these godlike traits, speed, strength, immortality, and a mastery of war, the way they express these powers varies wildly. Each channels Cain's essence through a different lens. Some are graceful blade masters, others literal walking artillery, and a few are just downright broken. Now let's break them down one by one and see what each Phoenix Lord brings to the table, starting with Oserman. Oserman, right off the bat, is the embodiment of the warrior path, the concept of pure martial perfection distilled into a single being. His reflexes and speed are described as far beyond even other Eldar, allowing him to parry blows that would seem instantaneous to mortals. He's a tactical genius with thousands of years of experience and can fight entire armies while commanding others like a one-man war council. As for his gear, Oserman wields 3 pimpin' items. First, his ancient Phoenix armor. The armor of Asur, which contains a twin wrist-mounted shuriken catapult known as the Bloody Twins. Elegant but brutally efficient weapons that fire monomolecular shurikens capable of slicing through plasteel like butter. Most Eldar wield shuriken catapults as standard issue, but Oserman's are ancient relics integrated directly into his wrist guards, letting him fluidly switch between ranged and melee combat in the blink of an eye. Then there's his more iconic weapon, the Sword of Asur, the first and most powerful dire sword ever forged. This psychic blade houses the soul of his slain brother, Tethys, granting it a terrifying spiritual edge. Gav Thorpe himself,
Oh, brother, this guy stinks!
described it as one of the most potent psychic weapons around, capable of severing a demon's connection to the warp and erasing it from existence entirely.
Oh, good. Why, that's very good. Yes, I like that.
In other words, if this sword cuts you, your soul is gonna get deleted from reality. Bye-bye. Kinda sounds a lot like the Emperor's sword. Did you steal that from Oserman? Ah, you big daddy, you silly little guy. When it comes to feats, Oserman's record is very impressive, but also incredibly complicated, which makes me want to tear my hair out. The Eldar 6th edition Codex describes him as a demigod of battle whose legend spans across the stars, blessed by Assyrian himself with the ability to cheat death forever. It also states that kings, demons, and star gods alike have fallen to his blade, implying that he has once defeated a Catan shard, an absurdly powerful feat depending on how potent that shard actually was, which of course Games Workshop never clarifies. Thank you, GW, for making my job incredibly more difficult.
This is worthless.
Now I know the excerpt from the 6th edition says star gods, and you might be wondering to yourself, doesn't that mean a full Catan? Well, at the time of Oserman's rise to power, the Catan were already all fragmented, so it would be impossible for Oserman to face a fallen Catan, hence meaning he fought a Catan shard, which is still a very impressive feat. But then, things get kinda messy. The same codex also discusses his battle with the Keeper of Secrets Nakari, where it states that Nakari slew him in single combat. But earlier in that same passage, it is implied that Oserman was facing down a whole horde of demons and then fought Nakari, which to me means that he may have been exhausted or wounded during their one-on-one duel. It's hard to say what is really true here, but either way, it's going to make scaling him later in the video way too fucking hard, people. Still, Oserman has other feats we can take a look at that show how powerful he is. In the book Hand of Assyrian, he kills a Khornite demon prince along with several other champions of Khorne. In the Darker Road, he takes down another Keeper of Secrets, which is a greater demon of Slaanesh, this time with the assistance from Eldrith Uthwan, while fighting in the Eye of Terror, meaning the demon would have been greatly empowered within its home realm. Finally, in the last days of Ektor, he easily annihilates multiple Carnifexes and even a massive Trigon on his own. So, while Osterman's power level is kinda all over the place, thanks to the wonderful, inconsistent writing at Games Workshop, once again, thank you Games Workshop for making my job way too goddamn hard. One moment, he's erasing demons from reality, the next, he's having a tough time against greater demons. And then next, we have the fastest man alive. And no, it's not Barry Allen. It's Baharath. And oh man, oh my, well Osterman has conflicting feats. At least he had feats. Baharath runs almost entirely on hype and hearsay, which as you know on this channel, I absolutely despise.
Crazy, dog.
His legend is massive, but his actual showings, pretty much non-existent. He wields two weapons, the Shining Blade, said to have been forged in the dying fires of a supernova by the Daughters of Val, a sword that supposedly still holds a fragment of that star's astral power. Then there's his Las Blaster, the rapid-firing energy weapon of the Swooping Hawks, far more advanced and deadly than any Imperial lasgun. Baharath's defining power is his speed. It's described in the 6th edition Eldar Codex that he is the fastest of all the Aeldari who have ever lived, moving with grace and hitting like the force of a hurricane, leaving trails of searing white fire in his wake. Sadly, when it comes to feats though, we've got absolutely nothing. His only notable appearance is in the book The Gathering Storm Fracture of Beltan, where he fights alongside his fellow Phoenix Lords against the 1,000 Suns and their demonic allies. Beyond that, it's all hype. He may be one fast fella, but that's all we have to work with here. Then we come to Fugan, where things really start to heat up. Literally. As the Phoenix Lord of Fire, his presence alone radiates an aura so intense it scorches the ground beneath his feet and blisters the flesh of anyone foolish enough to stand near him. Fugan can bend and control fire at will, shaping it into weapons of pure destruction, or turning entire battlefields into a blazing pyre. Fugan wields two devastating weapons, the Fire Axe, a blazing power weapon forged in the fires of the Fall itself. The heat of its creation still burns within, ruins burning like living embers across the blade. His second weapon is the Seer Song, which is a legendary fire pike, an upgraded fusion weapon that burns hotter and longer than any other of its kind, capable of melting through tanks, fortresses, or demons with equal ease. And unlike the other two Phoenix Lords we've covered, Fugan actually delivers on the hype. In one of his most famous feats, he tanks a direct blast of warp fire from the Lord of Change, Zarzep the Ineffable, a greater demon of Tzeentch, completely unharmed, then vaporizes the creature into mist with a single pinpoint beam from his fire pike. The 6th edition Eldar Codex even states that Fugan scoured a score of demon lords from a planet, burning through a score of them and then finishing off another dozen with his fire axe. Now, what exactly qualifies as a demon lord is a little murky in the older lore, but it likely refers to either a demon prince or a greater demon. Either way, that's an absurd power feat. Fugan is the man, or I guess the Eldar Phoenix soul thing? But regardless of what you want to call him, he is a war god in burning form, shown to be able to bully greater demons with ease. After the absolute GOAT is Arilith, the Shadow Spectre, the most mysterious of all the Phoenix Lords. Unlike Fugan or Baharath, Arilith doesn't appear to possess any overt warp-based powers. Instead, his strength lies in ethereal accuracy, his mastery of stealth, and his almost supernatural calm on the battlefield. Arilith wields the legendary Spear of Starlight, a hybrid weapon combining a prism blaster and a power glaive into one elegant, devastating instrument of death. He can strike with it at long range or brutal close combat, flowing between the two with spectral grace. When fighting alongside his shadow specters, the spear's energy can merge with their ghost light, amplifying their combined firepower to devastating levels. His mastery of the weapon makes him one of the most versatile and unpredictable of all the Phoenix Lords. Arilith's greatest feat came when he faced a greater demon and its infernal horde, holding his ground as the ruins protecting the webway burned away. The battle's length is unknown, but in the end, Arilith stood victorious, banishing the greater demon and sealing its followers back into the warp. However, the victory came at a great cost. Exhausted from the battle, he fell into a deep slumber, but he still was victorious. God, I love to see these Phoenix Lords shine. Whoever said they're chapter master level, I am giving you the big fat middle finger right now. Next is Jane Czar, the Storm of Silence, and arguably one of the best melee combatants amongst the Phoenix Lords. Her speed, which makes her a blur of silver and white, allows her to decapitate a squad of Space Marines before they can even raise their weapons. As for her abilities, outside of being incredibly fast and agile, she wields sound itself as a weapon.
Loud noises!
In Jane Czar, the Storm of Silence, she unleashes a psychic scream so powerful it melts the flesh and armor of a Keeper of Secrets, annihilating the demon's body and shattering its weapon in a single focused wail. She also displays a remarkable resistance to psychic powers. When facing the Mask of Slaanesh, a demon whose hypnotic dance can enthrall mortals and demons alike, Jane Czar, using her sheer willpower, is completely unaffected. She then screams, which shatters the illusion, deafening the chamber and rendering the demon's magic utterly useless. She then proceeds to kill the mask in single combat, which is a pretty impressive feat. As for her inventory, she carries 3 signature weapons. First, Jane Osmore, the Silent Death, a tri-bladed throwing weapon forged in the warp itself. Wreathed in black flame, it never misses its mark, always returns to her hand, and never harms its master. Second is Zaymorin, the Blade of Destruction, a shimmering pre-Birth of Slaanesh weapon, so light and sharp, it can parry Thunderhammer strikes and bisect power armor like paper. And her third and final weapon is the Terror's Lament, the original Banshee mask, the prototype from which all others were made. Its psychic wail amplifies her scream, breaking minds and spirits in an instant. Then we come to her feats, which are even better than her weapons. She once fought through an entire Night Lord's company of Terminator armored Chaos Marines, moving so fast they couldn't even react before dying. I don't think you guys truly understand that, so here's the excerpt from the book Void Stalker. She came from the darkness, just as her sisters had done. Varthon was the first to see her and shouted a warning to the others. The cry died in his throat as soon as it started, ended by the spear blade punched through his breastplate, bursting both of his hearts in a single blow. Jekrish White Eyes died next, his head cleaved clean from his shoulders. As the body started to topple, Talos lifted his fist to block his brother's spinning helm from hitting him. It clanged aside, dropping to the floor. He was already firing at the black blur, aiming in the places instinct and his targeting reticle said she'd be. More stonework died in detonation craters and splintering chips. She didn't even slow down to kill. The spear reaped through Goltatha's waist, severing him from his legs. In the same second, Far Oven died halfway across the chamber, a 3-bladed throwing star cracking his head down the middle. Both bodies fell, twinning their thuds as they struck stone. So, as you can see, Herd, she's literally punching clean through Terminator armor. Even after Talos of the Night Lords, spoiler for Voidstalker, blows himself up with a grenade to hurt Jane Czar, she still survives, mortally wounded, but still alive. After this though, she is finally slain by Malkirion, a dreadnought of the 8th Legion, which to me is kind of a bullshit death, but whatever.
This is bullshit.
Yet, as we've discussed earlier in this video, death means little to a Phoenix Lord, as she would ultimately return later in the setting. Another stunning feat she has is when she blitzed and slew the Mask of Slaanesh, overpowering the demon in single combat. And finally, she defeated Drazir, the Dark Eldar's master executioner, a being many believed, including myself, to be another Phoenix Lord due to his similar resurrection through armor and mask. I will admit though, she did lose the first duel they had, and part of the reason she prevailed the second time was the fact that she was empowered by Yanid. And for those who don't know, Yanid is the god of death. So when you're powered by Yanid, the god of death, and you yourself are a Phoenix Lord that is functionally immortal, this buff is kinda broken. As for example, say you die, you will immediately return back to life due to the buffs of Yanid, as opposed to waiting decades or centuries for the right Eldar soul to come around. Still, Drazir has slain 3 custodians in single combat in the past, and was one of the few warriors capable of matching Jane Zar's swordplay. Yet in the end, he fell to the Storm of Silence. So although she may have a few anti-feats, I'm just happy she has feats in general. After her is Karandras, the Shadow Hunter, Master of Patience, Vengeance, and Death Unseen. He is the ultimate stealth warrior, able to draw the shadows themselves around him and strike without warning. Karandras embodies the art of true stealth. He moves through battlefields as if shadows themselves serve him, phasing in and out of existence. He can vanish into pure darkness even under the gaze of demons and psychers alike. During one fight against the greater demon, Vexwing, a Lord of Change, he teleported behind it mid-fight. Before it could land a blow, Karandras melted from the shadows, reappearing behind the creature and tearing it apart with his blades, reducing the warp spawn to a shimmering dust. As for his weapons, he wields 3. Scorpion's Claw, Ara's Bane, a massive power claw that combines crushing force with a built-in shuriken weapon that can cleave through tanks and split demon hide. Second, he has the Biting Blade, Isurthamil, a finely balanced weapon that grows sharper and more lethal with each strike, feeding on the momentum of the fight until it cuts through the toughest armor. And third, the Scorpion's Bite, or the Mandy Blaster, which is his signature weapon, and perhaps his deadliest. The Scorpion's Bite can blast through power armor, send Space Marines flying, and even punch through Terminator plate, melting the victim from within. Karandras doesn't have a ton of notable feats outside of defeating the Lord of Change, Vexwing, but he does have one infamous duel against Drazir, the Dark Eldar Incubi. The two fought for 17 solar days amidst the ruins of Xandros. Though unable to defeat his rival directly, the Shadow Hunter outwitted him completely, vanishing into the dark at the perfect moment to fight another day. And then we finally come to the big Papa Ra. Maugan Ra, the Harvester of Souls, is a master of both ranged and melee annihilation. He combines devastating ranged attacks, unparalleled close combat skill, and near superhuman durability to dominate any battlefield he sets foot upon. His abilities include freezing his body in place like a stone with a single syllable, turning himself into an unmovable anchor against even the largest foes. He also has extreme durability, able to survive attacks that would obliterate lesser warriors. As for his weapons, he only has one, and he only needs one. The Maugan, the Harvester, a hybrid weapon, part ancient Shrieker cannon, part massive scythe. The Maugan fires Shrieker Disc that can shred through entire ranks of enemies while also functioning as a melee weapon capable of cleaving colossal foes in two. Maugan Ra built it himself after a perilous quest, even defeating a Keeper of Secrets, sacrificing an Exarch to Cain, and kidnapping Bone Singers. Another reason to love Mr. Ra. And then we come to his feats. As stated in the 6th edition Eldar Codex, his first greatest feat came when he single-handedly killed a Tyranid Biotitan that blotted out the sky, impaling it and cutting it apart despite its enormous size and weight. Second, he obliterated a swarm of Tyranids that probably numbered anywhere between thousands to millions of Tyranids. And third, he ventured into the Eye of Terror to save his craft world and actually succeeded. So Maugan Ra really is that guy. Next is Drastanta, and his abilities include incredible speed, reflexes, and combat skill, while mounted on a jet bike. But not much else is known about him. We know he has 2 weapons, the Celestial Lance, which he used to kill the Keeper of Secrets Nakari. The weapon can pierce any armor and inflict devastating strikes from distance, but that's all we really know about it. And then he has the Crown of the Seventh Sky, a prized relic amongst the Shining Spears, though we don't exactly know what abilities this item brings. His greatest feat, which we just discussed, is defeating Nakari, which is impressive, but it is worth noting that the demon was most likely weakened from his fight with Osserman, making the feat less as dazzling as we originally thought. Beyond this, we know next to nothing about the fella since he disappeared right after defeating Nakari.
Well, this sucks.
Now we finally come to Lycus, the daredevil of the Warp Spiders, the master of ambushes, rapid assaults, and warp navigation. Her combat style emphasizes speed, surprise, and multi-directional attacks made possible by her unique 4-armed aspect armor. She has 4 weapons, yes, 4, and I am going to struggle to pronounce each and every one of them. First is the Vadharkan, the Weave Render, her personal sword that is so sharp it can slice the fabric of reality itself, opening micro rifts into the warp. Second, we have the Brood Twain, or the Death Weavers, twin spinning weapons integrated into her additional arms. They can slice through foes at high speeds. Third are the Spider Fangs, thank God that was easy, twin injectors designed for close combat. And then finally, as we discussed earlier, she has her 4-armed aspect armor, which houses 2 arms for ranged combat and 2 for melee weapons. While there are no confirmed combat feats for Lycus in the current lore, her arsenal, extreme agility, and warp hopping makes her one of the most dangerous of the Phoenix Lords. Finally, we come to the last Phoenix Lord, Ara or Drazir, the ultimate incubi warrior of Kamun-Ra, the Dark City. Drazir is taller, faster, and more lethal than other incubi. As for his weapon, he wields the Demi-Glaives, or the Disemboweler Blades, exceptionally deadly melee weapons used with elegance and finesse to dispatch even heavily armored opponents. His feats are also pretty damn good. On the Lost Craft world of Xandros in 928 M41, he dueled his successor, Karandras, for 17 days. Although he was winning, Karandras escaped before he could kill her. Drazir is also stated in the Psychic Awakening Phoenix Rising to have single-handedly defeated 3 custodians in close quarters, showing that he easily scales above custody level threats. He's also fought Jane Zar twice. The first, he easily overpowered her and killed her, but the second, he fought Jane Zar while empowered by Yanid, where she defeated him in turn. And lastly, it's not really a feat, but he is regarded in the Dark City as a warrior without equal, feared and respected for his combat skill. Wow, so we just went through all of the Phoenix Lords, and now it's time, yes fellas, time to scale them against the rest of the 40K universe. Before continuing, I want to mention this quote from Gav Thorpe regarding the Phoenix Lords and their comparison to the Primarchs. So the question was, what other factions have a character that is equivalent to a Primarch? And this was Gav Thorpe's answer. It's always a bit risky making power comparisons, and it very often depends on circumstances. Some characters have more general abilities, others excel in specific situations. But on the whole, I would say that Primarch level beings include the Phoenix Lords and a few Orc Mega Warlords. Now obviously, Gav Thorpe does not know the autistic power scaling like me and you guys, but he is an Eldar author, which means we gotta take at least some of what he said for truth. So keep this quote in mind when we're comparing the Phoenix Lords to the rest of the 40K universe, especially the Primarchs. Now to add to this is, yes, I am using older sources like the 5th and 6th edition codexes, which some may make the argument that these feats from these codexes are not as valid because they are older lore. And my rebuttal to that is, where else am I going to get Phoenix Lord feats? Like, come on guys, they're not the most popular faction. And if we really want to get technical here, all officially published material from Games Workshop is considered canon. That includes the codexes we've been using throughout this video, which came out in 2013. Not even that long ago. Oh. It's been a decade. Oh my. Guys, I'm fucking old. But I digress. If you think these feats do not count because 1, they are either from a codex, or 2, they are from somewhat older lore, then I'm going to say this once and for all. You, sir, are incorrect. Now go drink some milk. So without further ado, let's get to Powerscaling. As per usual, my favorite herd, we will be using the Cow's Power Pyramid to scale these knife-ear fellas. We will also be using 7 tiers for this video. Chapter Master tier, Enhanced, Low Primarch, High Primarch, Planetary, Cosmic, and Multiversal. And before we start tossing the Phoenix Lords into this blender of power scaling, let's clarify the tiers so everyone's on the same page. Starting at the bottom with Chapter Master tier. Those in this tier are the peak of normal warriors in the galaxy, beings who have pushed mortal limits to their absolute edge. They're powerful, but still bound by physical limits. They can't break reality, tank nukes to the face, or duel gods. So in 40k, these are characters like Space Marine Chapter Masters, like Dante or Azrael, Orc War Bosses, Tau Commanders, and other elite Astarte heroes. Next is Enhanced tier. This tier belongs to the truly augmented warriors who go beyond the physical and mental limits of most mortal beings. Here we find custodians, each one handcrafted by the Emperor, and able to obliterate entire squads of Space Marines. The Grey Knights, psychic demon slayers born to combat the warp itself, and demon princes, mortals elevated by the favor of chaos into monstrous demigods. It's worth noting before we continue that demon princes and greater demons both have various levels of power. But since a vast average of demon princes end up in this tier, as we've seen in my video, who is the strongest demon prince, I'm going to put the demon princes as a character in the enhanced tier. I hope that makes sense. Then we reach low Primarch tier. This is where the demigods of the 40k universe begin. The weakest base Primarchs and those who contend with them belong here. Still far beyond any mortal, but not quite as powerful as those in high Primarch tier. This includes the less powerful Primarchs like Base Lorgar, Gilliman and Alfarius and Maugan, as well as entities like the Avatar of Cain and Greater Demons. These beings can level cities, crush armies, and duel other divine champions, embodying the first true step into godlike might. And then we have high Primarch tier. These are the apex of the Emperor's sons, the true demigods of 40k. This tier includes Sanguinius, Angron, and Lionel Johnson, Primarchs that can tear apart titans, defeat greater demons and demon princes, and most have the potential to break reality through psychic power and brute strength. I would like to remind everyone that when we discuss the Primarch tiers and the Primarchs themselves on a broad level in these videos, we're considering them in their base form. So them at the height of the Great Crusade, without any buffs, amps, or external enhancements. I don't think I made myself clear enough about this in my Dropsite Massacre power scaling video, because a lot of people were confused in the comments, and rightfully so, because I did not explain it well enough, and I apologize about that. So going forward, I'm going to be incredibly autistic about the base Primarchs and what that means overall. So just to make sure there's no confusion in the future. Also, I would like to note that Magnus the Red is not listed with the rest of the base Primarchs, because honestly he probably scales into either planetary or most likely cosmic, due to his immense psychic might. I mean, the guy is literally the second strongest psyker in the universe. After the Primarch tiers is Planetary tier. Here lie the World Breakers, being so powerful that their presence alone can devastate planets or warp reality itself. This tier includes demon Primarchs like Fulgrim, Mortarion, and Perturabo, as well as Catan Shards, which really depends on the fragment's strength. So this would be Catan Shards that are close to or almost fully formed, like the Void Dragon on Mars. Then we come to Cosmic tier. This is power on a galactic scale. Entities who can influence entire star systems or bend the fabric of the universe to their will. Here we find the Emperor of Mankind during the Great Crusade, whose psychic might could incinerate gods, and mind you guys, he got an update in Ashes of the Imperium that I'm going to have to cover in a future Powerscaling Peeps video. I mean, the guy, spoiler, almost killed the Chaos Gods when he fought Horus. That's fucking crazy. Also in this tier is the Silent King, whose mastery of Necron technology spans galaxies. And lastly, fully formed Cthons, star gods who consume suns and warp the laws of physics. And at the top of 40k power scaling is the multiversal tier. This is the apex of Warhammer 40k's power scale. The beings here exist beyond the material universe, their influence ripples through infinite dimensions, and are almost impossible to kill. In this tier, we have the many gods of 40k, including the ruinous powers like Khorne, Nurgle, Tzeentch, and Slaanesh, as well as God Emperor Horus as seen in The End and the Death, and the Emperor upon the Golden Throne in the current setting. All of these beings are incredibly broken and extremely powerful, that any one of them could alter the fates of the 40k setting. So with that groundwork laid, let's start by narrowing it down a little. Across the board, the Phoenix Lords are clearly stronger than normal Space Marines, even Chapter Masters, given their centuries of experience, superhuman reflexes, and divine level of their aspect abilities. Tau Commanders, who may be brilliant strategists but lack the physical and warp-enhanced prowess of these elder demigods, as well as Grey Knights and Custodians, as shown in the book Throne World, when Harlequins and Shadowseers were able to take down several Custodians. And by simple power scaling logic, the Phoenix Lords stand well above them. On the other hand though, there are beings the Phoenix Lords can't touch. Those in the multiversal tier, like the Chaos Gods, the Emperor on the Golden Throne, and Horus during the Siege of Terra, are walking warp anomalies that can warp reality, time, and space by their mere presence, something no Phoenix Lord can oppose. As well as those in the cosmic tier, like the Silent King, the Emperor and his 30k prime, or full Cthons. These entities can destroy, manipulate, and reshape reality, leaving the Phoenix Lords without reliable means to harm or even influence them. This clearly sets the range for these knife ears between the enhanced and planetary tiers. They are formidable, but their power clearly does not reach the realm of true gods or cosmic entities. Now, let's go one by one through each of the Phoenix Lords and scale them against the rest of the 40k universe. I'll try to stay on task as much as possible, keeping it focused on their feats, powers, and abilities that actually matter, while attempting to skip my usual autistic tangents. I make no promises though, because at the end of the day, I am just a silly go. We'll start with Oserman. To determine where he scales, we first need to define the beings he might be compared against: demon princes and greater demons. Both are living embodiments of chaos, though their power levels can vary dramatically. Demon princes are mortals who have ascended through the favor of their dark gods, gaining immense strength, regeneration, and psychic might, while still retaining traces of their former selves. While greater demons are pure warp entities, the direct manifestations of their patron's will. They can regenerate, smash tanks with their bare hands, and devour souls from bodies. In terms of scaling though, most demon princes and greater demons, as I stated earlier, fall somewhere between the enhanced and low Primarch tier, depending on their individual feats and the strength of their patron. So, how does Oserman compare to them? Oserman is said to have defeated kings, demons, and even star gods, which strongly implies he once bested a Cthon shard, since by the time of the Phoenix Lord's rise, all the Cthon had already been shattered by the Necrons. While Oserman does carry the anti-feat of losing to Nakari, context is key there. It's far more likely that Oserman was either exhausted after a prolonged fight or facing multiple demons at once, making it far from a clean fight. Considering his prowess and weaponry, especially his sword that can permanently kill demons, something only the most powerful weapons in the galaxy can achieve, Oserman clearly stands above demon princes and greater demons in raw prowess. And this brings us to the Primarchs. Oh boy, the Primarchs yet again. It seems we always arrive here. Osterman's feats are actually comparable to the other low-tier Primarchs, like Lorgar or Guilliman. Both Guilliman and Osterman have struggled against greater demons, and both wield demon-slaying blades. While Lorgar has defeated a greater demon in the Eye of Terror, Angarith, who is supposedly one of the strongest greater demons of Khorne, Osterman has kinda done the same exact thing, but actually in the Warp, while fighting alongside Eldridge, they defeated a greater demon. So with these two comparable feats, does that mean Osterman is in low Primarch tier? Well, he does have a couple more feats I feel like I should mention. In the book, The Last Days of Ector, Osterman casually annihilates multiple Carnifexes and a massive Trigon by himself. I feel like this all comes back to his feat of defeating a Star God. And for those who don't know how powerful a Catan Shard is, here's a quick excerpt from the book Sons of the Hydra. The stamp of a Star God's foot on the ground sent ripples through reality, knocking attackers out of cover. With a searing gaze, the Deceiver turned legionary after legionary into clouds of ash, which swirl into the rising maelstrom around the pyramid. Nothing survives it. And I would like to remind everyone who just read that and completely freaked out at how powerful these guys are, the Deceiver shards are some of the weakest in the galaxy. So imagine a Catan shard that is stronger than this. Yeah, what the fuck. So Osterman has defeated one of these Star Gods. But yet again, we don't know the exact size and strength of the shard he defeated.
Son of a bitch!
So where does that leave him? If he's above low Primarch tier, but has no firm evidence of operating on planetary level, especially considering his anti-feat, then I would say high Primarch tier is the most logical placement. Now, I'm not saying he could defeat Sanguinius or the Lion, but he's probably near them in power. His dueling mastery and skill make him one of the deadliest warriors the Aeldari have ever fielded, but if I'm being straight up, his Nakari anti-feat does not really help him, and if he was so powerful, he would have been able to save the planet of Ector. So I think he's near the back of high Primarch tier, but still a top tier demigod whose feats and record fully justify this ranking. I can't wait to get so many hate comments for that placement. Sorry guys, sorry, the milk must be going straight to the dome during this video. Next, we have Baharath, the Phoenix Lord of the Swooping Hawks. And well, the man has no combat feats whatsoever. Yippee! Baharath is difficult as hell to place due to this lack of recorded feats, but his speed is described as absurd. The fastest Aeldari ever, surpassing even Jane Czar. Moving so fast, the ground scorches in his wake. His weapon, the Shining Blade, forged in a supernova and imbued with stellar energy, could theoretically deliver devastating blows, though there's no concrete evidence of its full combat potential. Using power scaling logic, if he's the fastest Eldar, he should theoretically outpace Drazir, who effortlessly killed 3 custodians in single combat. That alone cements him at least in the enhanced tier. And if his speed is truly faster than Jane Czar, that would make him most likely faster than a Primarch, whose combat speed matches hers. So, using logic once again that may be a little too autistic, if Jane Czar's speed is similar to a Primarch as they move faster than a Space Marine can track, and Baharath is stated to be faster than Jane Czar, then by this silly little logic, that would mean he is faster than a Primarch. However, his lack of actual combat feats keeps him from rising too high. I would argue he fits into low Primarch tier, but at the very back, below other low Primarch characters, simply because raw speed alone isn't enough without confirmed feats to back it up. So Baharath lands in low Primarch tier. Then we come to the absolute Chad, Fugan, the Phoenix Lord of Fire. Beyond his mastery over fire, Fugan wields an awe-inspiring arsenal, the Fire Axe and the Fire Pike. Each can melt through the toughest foes with terrifying efficiency. He also has an assortment of feats, like annihilating over 24 greater demons, and straight up tanking warp fire. With these feats alone, Fugan clearly outclasses the low Primarch tier. Beyond Avatar of Cain's, and far exceeds the achievements of Primarchs like Guilliman, Lorgar, or Alfarius. I mean, you can really try to argue with me here, but Guilliman nearly died facing Scarbrand. I rest my case. Fugan, by contrast, does this for fucking breakfast. Now, let's see how he fares against the high Primarchs like Sanguinius, Angron, or Lionel Johnson. Could he defeat one of them outright? Well, that is highly debatable. The Lion's swordsmanship and Sanguinius' psychic precognition make them very formidable opponents. Still, Fugan's elemental mastery and sheer firepower give him the potential to hold his own. Let's talk about the base High Primarch's best feats. Sanguinius defeated Kabanda, and the Lion was able to blitz Karos Fateweaver, a demon who can see all potential futures. Fugan, by contrast to that, casually took down 26 greater demons in a single battle, a feat that is far exceeding individual base Primarchs. And to make sure I don't get these comments, I'm not referring to Sanguinius during the End in the Death or in the Siege of Terra. So his feats against Angron and Kabanda are not counted because that is not base Sanguinius. So please, please, please do not bring that up in the comments. But when you compare the Firelord's feats against Sanguinius or the Lion and the other high-tier base Primarchs, I think it's clear to say that he scales above them and edges into planetary level capabilities. So now the new question is, could he contend with a Catan Shard or a Demon Primarch? Before we go further, isn't it kind of funny how similar the Phoenix Lords and the Demon Primarchs are, as they constantly die because of the one fact that immortality is not a buff in 40k. In fact, it is a detriment to your character, and if you ever receive that buff, expect to die 15 times because of Games Workshop's terrible writing. Before I go on a 5-hour long tangent about that silliness, let's jump into how powerful the Demon Primarchs and the Catan are. The Demon Primarchs are reality warping demigods empowered directly by chaos, able to erase entire armies, alter the fabric of the warp, and potentially reshape planets through sheer destructive power. Catan Shards, on the other hand, are fragments of the ancient star gods, cosmic entities that devour suns, manipulate time, and bend matter and energy at will. Even a single shard wields power on a planetary scale. When you compare these to Fugan, I think there's a chance he could take down a smaller Catan Shard depending on its size, but Demon Primarchs are a clear limit. Their regenerative abilities, enhanced physical attributes, and reality warping powers place them well beyond his reach. While Fugan can effortlessly handle greater demons, Demon Primarchs exist on an entirely different scale. Still, Fugan proves the doubters wrong, surpassing all base Primarchs and earning his spot as the first Phoenix Lord to reach planetary tier. Suck it, haters, suck it. Next is Arilith, Phoenix Lord of the Shadow Spectres. His greatest feat is pretty impressive, single-handedly defeating a greater demon and its infernal horde while defending the webway, taking on a flood of demons and slaying their leader. I'd argue this feat alone puts Illareth way beyond enhanced tier, easily surpassing low Primarchs as well. For perspective, during the war in the Webway, even Custodes and the Sisters of Silence struggled against the demonic floods from Magnus's breach. Granted, that breach was on a much larger scale, but the fact that Illareth managed a similar situation solo is nothing short of ridiculous. I'd place Illareth solidly in the high Primarch tier. His speed, spectral weaponry, and endurance makes him a formidable force, as seen when he defeated a greater demon and its whole horde. While very impressive, I think the other Primarchs in high Primarch tier could likely achieve a similar feat. So he isn't necessarily above them, just close in power. Limited feats keep him from surpassing them entirely, but I still believe that Illareth firmly slots into the high Primarch tier. Next is Jane Czar, the Phoenix Lord of the Howling Banshees. Her feats include killing multiple Night Lord Terminators, moving so fast they literally couldn't even see her. She also blitzed and slew the Mask of Slaanesh, a demon whose hypnotic abilities incapacitated the Banshees fighting alongside her, yet Jane Czar was completely immune. On top of that, she's even defeated another Phoenix Lord in single combat. But with that said, there is some context to that fight. As I stated earlier, she was empowered by Yanid, making direct scaling kinda tricky. Before this, she was actually killed by Drazir, and by my calculations, that would put her in her base form below Drazir. Overall, she's one of the fastest and most skilled Eldar warriors alive, but her power level fluctuates in base. I think this really comes down to how strong the mask is. The mask is a demonette of Slaanesh, meaning she's powerful but still weaker than a greater demon, which does not really help Jane Zar's case. So taking everything into account, I'd place Jane Zar in low Primarch tier. Her speed is absolutely comparable to the Primarchs. She's one of the fastest non-godlike beings in the galaxy, and her skill is unmatched amongst the Aeldari. But she lacks the sheer durability and physical might that defines most Primarchs. Against the weaker ones like Lorgar or Alfarius, she could probably go toe-to-toe against thanks to her agility and speed. However, a single clean hit from a Primarch would be catastrophic. If she faced high-tier Primarchs like Sanguinius or the Lion who combined immense speed, psychic power, and durability, she'd be completely outmatched. An unfortunate placement for the best girl, Jane Zar, who is still incredibly deadly, but at the end of the day, ultimately fragile compared to the true demigods of the setting. So Jane Zar slots in towards the back of low Primarch tier. Karendris is next, who shares a lot of similarities to Jane Zar. Like several Phoenix Lords, he has slain a greater demon, showing his remarkable combat prowess. He also wields incredible weapons like the Mandy Blaster, which can punch through Terminator armor. However though, he couldn't finish off Drazir with it, which may hint at some limits to this weapon's practical potential. Karendris' defining moment is a 17-day duel with Drazir, which ultimately ended in a stalemate when Karendris decided to withdraw. To put this into a Gal-like perspective, Drazir has easily killed 3 custodians, a feat that low Primarchs could easily achieve. Despite this, Karendris' skill and endurance allow him the ability to survive such a prolonged encounter, but I will admit I still believe a single decisive strike from a Primarch would likely kill him instantly, much like Jane Zar. Taking this all into account, I would place Karendris in the low Primarch tier above Jane Zar, but probably still at the bottom of the low Primarchs. Unlike Jane Zar, Karendris was able to duel Drazir for 17 straight days. Before going further, I would like to state that most of the Phoenix Lords' durability is their biggest weakness, meaning a fight between a Phoenix Lord and a Primarch would probably come down to who can land the most damaging blow first. Next up is Maugan Ra, the absolute Eldar daddy. I will try to remain unbiased throughout his portion of the video. Let's start by summarizing his weapons and feats. According to the Warhammer 40,000 Munatora manual, Maugan Ra's weapon is dipped in the blood of Cain, greatly empowering it with the god's divine wrath. But that's just his weapon. He single-handedly defeated an entire Tyranid swarm, as stated in the Eldar 6th edition Codex. For context on why that is so goddamn insane, a Tyranid swarm contains thousands of Nids at the minimum and can number in the millions at its largest. On top of that, he's defeated a Lord of Change, a greater demon of Tzeentch, killed a Biotitan, and even freed his craft world from the Eye of Terror, a region that is so lethal to Eldar souls due to their psychic connection to Slaanesh. He easily scales above low and high base Primarchs. Because, let's be real, Herd, I've never seen a regular base Primarch pull off anything this close to Maugan Ra. I mean, hell guys, the man literally tanked a hit from a Biotitan and then impaled it right afterwards. And just like with Fugan, let's compare him against the Catan Shards and the Demon Primarchs, the other beings in the planetary tier. And I think Maugan Ra actually stands a chance against a Catan Shard. His destructive output and weapons give him the firepower to potentially take one down. Against the Demon Primarchs, similar to Fugan, he does not stand a chance. He definitely would put up one hell of a fight, but those entities are amongst the deadliest beings in the galaxy. If Maugan Ra can set up a trap or shoot them from a distance, maybe he has a chance, but in a straight-on, one-on-one fight, he'd likely fall short. Still, Maugan Ra stands as a planetary-level powerhouse and the second Eldar Phoenix Lord to reach that spot. Before we jump to Drastanta, let me address the Maugan Ra counter-argument I know I will receive. In the Tyranid 8th edition codex, Maugan is said to have defeated a single bioship. Some people take this to mean that his earlier feat, where he annihilated a Tyranid swarm stated in the 5th edition Tyranid Codex and the 6th edition Eldar Codex, to be retconned or downgraded due to this new feat presented in the 8th edition. However, after countless hours of digging and debating with my fellow Discord cows, I've come to the conclusion that honestly it's pretty unclear whether the single bioship reference is meant to replace the entire swarm feat, or if it's just referring to a different event altogether. There's no definitive statement that overrides what he did in earlier codexes. So for the sake of fairness, I'm keeping Maugan Ra's feat of slaying an entire Tyranid swarm on the table. I mean, even if we said he only defeated a Tyranid bioship, that is still tens of thousands of Tyranids, including warriors and other creatures like Biotitans in one ship. So regardless, the dude is broken as hell. Next up is Drastanta, who we know nothing about. While his victory over Nakari in the 6th edition Eldar Codex is impressive, I guess, it's important to note that the demon was likely already weakened from battling Oserman. Beyond that single feat, there's nothing else concrete we know about this guy. Given the lack of information and clear feats, I'd place Drastanta in the enhanced tier. Clearly powerful, but nothing to support him higher than that. Next is Lycus, and much like Drastanta, we know nothing about her either. She's noted for her incredible agility and potent warp traveling, both of which suggest she has some type of potential. But without any solid combat feats, it's impossible to gauge her true strength. Given this lack of evidence, I'd comfortably place Lycus in the enhanced tier as well. Powerful, skilled, but ultimately too mysterious to rank any higher. And finally we come to our last Phoenix Lord on our list, or I guess the rumored one. Aura, or better known as Drazir. He defeated a Hierarch, essentially the Archon's right-hand enforcer, a position held by the best duelists in a cabal. This alone shows his prowess in dealing with elite warriors at the top of the Dark Aeldari hierarchy. During the raid on Samhain and Psychic Awakening Phoenix Rising, Drazir nearly slew Yafrain, only being stopped because Jane Zar, empowered by Yanid, intervened with her enhanced speed and skill. Notably, Drazir later defeated Jane Zar in single combat without her Yanid boosted abilities, which is a huge indicator of where he should scale. He is also stated to have killed 3 custodians in the same book. However, a small anti-feat for Drazir is his inability to defeat Crandris, which sets a clear ceiling on his power. Based on these feats, he surpasses most 40k mortals, enhanced characters, and probably many greater demons. But his limitations against top-tier Phoenix Lords keep him from higher spots. This places Drazir in the low Primarch tier, likely on par with Crandris, as he is incredibly skilled, fast, and deadly with a blade, but not quite on the level of high Primarchs and probably scales below most of the low Primarchs. And that, herd, wraps it all up in a nice little bow. We've done all 10 Phoenix Lords. Before ending this video, I kinda wanna touch on Yanid powered Phoenix Lords, and how powerful they would be if they received a permanent enhancement like the Yanid buff Jane Zar received in Psychic Awakening. If all of the Phoenix Lords received a Yanid boost, they would practically become unkillable. Their main weakness is their durability, so if that limitation is removed, every Phoenix Lord would likely jump up at least 1 tier in power. With that kind of durability combined with their already godlike speed, skill, and weaponry, they would be absolute monsters, able to dominate probably anyone below the high Primarch tier. Maybe one day Games Workshop will actually give them that so they will stop being footnotes in the lore. A cow can only hope. And that does it for this video. Thanks for watching, folks. If you enjoyed the video, consider supporting me on Patreon or joining the YouTube memberships. It's always hugely appreciated. I mean, who doesn't want to use fun cow emojis? Am I right? Am I right, herd? Big shout out to my awesome supporters. Ryania Basket, Ritter S, Imposse Paul, Musty, Omar, Keydri, Nico149, William Strong, and Soap Tastes Okay, one of the funniest names I've seen in my life. I seriously appreciate every single one of you. You guys absolutely mean the world to me. Next up is either the Duel series kicking off or the Chaos Warbands. Pretty much whichever one I can finish first. The Duel series videos will not be that long, as opposed to the Chaos Warbands where I'm at page fucking 56 right now. So that video might be even more than 3 hours. So I'm gonna say the Duel series is gonna come out first, but you never know with a cow like me. As always, my favorite bovines, stay milked, and I will see you in the next installment of Powerscaling Peeps.